Every moment requires a purpose.
No, it doesn't.
Every purpose requires a plan.
He does this every day, usually while everyone's food is getting cold. It's rather boring.
The higher, the fewer.
Well, that's a conversation stopper if I ever heard one.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Fully Functional TNG Podcast. I'm Maggie, joined by Jeff and Dory.
Yo.
Jeff and I are veteran Trekkies, and Dory is a rookie Trekkie, and we are taking her on her first journey through Star Trek: The Next Generation. Today, we'll be discussing the Season 5 episode, Cost of Living. Original air date is April 18th, 1992. And as always, we'll take it to Dory for the recap.
Okay, so we start off, the Enterprise is firing at an asteroid core still on collision course with Tessin 3, whatever. The course it's on, it'll give planet-wide damage, blah blah blah, 44 seconds until upper atmosphere, 11 seconds to impact the planet.
How accurate was that?
I didn't time it this time.
I felt like it was pretty accurate this time. Because the intro was only like a minute and a half long, so...
Yeah, this was very action-packed.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I wrote torpedo, not gonna do anything. Meh.
Shocking.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah. So then they do the tractor beam, and they use a particle beam, whatever.
I don't know, they pew-pew out of something else.
It explodes. Yeah, it explodes. Mission accomplished on the back of a boat. I feel like it's fitting. I wrote that in my notes, but it was a little more on the nose than I realized. All right, so now they're back on course to the, what the fuck did I write? Massalina system or Nasalina system? I don't know. They're back on this course for a system.
I like how this teaser was about something that is apparently so routine. Just go save a planet, don't even say hello, and leave. The end.
Yeah.
They just yell peace and then jet away. But when they do that, oh no, there's a bunch of glitter on the Enterprise.
Yes! I was hoping you would describe it as glitter, because that's exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah, it's glitter, and that shit gets everywhere, so...
That's true.
Good luck, Enterprise! Okay, so I wrote, this is either incredible or terrible. Okay, so now we cut to Worf is in family therapy with Alexander and Troy, and...
how can you go from that teaser to this?
It is truly... It's funny. So Worf is all I asked Alexander to put his clothes in the laundry. And Alexander is you didn't ask that today, you asked that yesterday. And I was I'm sorry, is Alexander on Reddit?
I hate this child so much.
Yeah.
It's like they write him so that he cannot be redeemable to the audience in any way whatsoever.
Okay, so Troy's hey, what if we drop a contract? And initially I was a contract? That seems very official for them. But then the more I thought about it, I was actually, that's not a bad idea, because Worf loves rules and
yeah.
I don't know, setting up the boundaries very strictly. So I was actually, for them, that kind of works. It just feels very informal, but that makes sense, I guess, to a degree.
It still feels very weird. I'm I don't know if this is the best idea. Maybe you should work on Worf's rigidity a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
sorry.
Yeah, so the contract basically would define what each family member's duties are. Okay.
Duty.
And then
Thank you.
And so
Thank you.
you do what you have to do, so you can then go you can do what you want.
Mm-hmm.
So okay. Also, when Troy is saying shit Worf does 50 billion like dramatic head turns, and it was very good. I enjoyed that. And so, Alexander's like, Worf, he's gonna start not yell, and Worf's like, I do not yell.
Actually, he said, I do not.
And I was
I
like,
do not yell.
yell. Yes. So Troy's like, listen, one day you'll realize that you'll appreciate the rules and your parents. Now get the fuck out of my office. I have stuff to do. So then we learn, okay, that the upcoming wedding is for none other than Lwaxana Troy, Troy's mother. And I just said, oh, hi, Mr. Holm. Our favorite
lurch
person. Oh, they go into like 10 forward or something? I don't know. I just wrote, Troy looks traumatized listening to her mother talk about turning 10 forward into a wedding hall.
They do kind of fast forward to that part. Like, this episode has a lot of very strange choices in terms of the directing, in that her mom,
I think that's an understatement.
Well, yes, but like her mom calls and it's just like, I'm here. Well, no, they tell her that, and then she the next scene is her introducing herself, and it just slowly close-ups on her. It's no one else's like reactions or anything like that, and then it skips forward to them talking in 10 forward, and I'm just like, okay, this is all over the place.
Yeah. So Troy then asks her mother normal questions like who, what, where, why, and when is this person you're marrying? What is this deal? And Lwaxana is like, what are all these crazy questions? I'm like, what? And then she does mention that he's from good breeding, which to me is always a red flag to refer to someone as breedable.
All right, to be fair.
Submissive and breedable.
Yes, except on TikTok.
To be fair,
that's okay.
To be fair, we are talking about heir to the holy rings of Beta Z, holder of the sacred chalice of Reeks, etc., etc. That's clearly very important to her.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So we learn that the person she is marrying, his name is Campio. He's the third minister to the Conference of Judges from the planet Coastal.
It doesn't matter. You never hear about this planet again.
And so they're like, oh, he's royalty. And then Troy and Lwaxana at the same time say naturally. And we learned that this is basically, I wouldn't say an arranged marriage. This is more like a blind date marriage.
She met him on Tinder.
Never met.
That's it.
Yes.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah.
Royalty Tinder.
And so, I guess like Worf comes in the room or some shit. I don't know. I just like mentioned Worf in my notes. And like, I don't even remember the context of when he comes in. But Worf doesn't care for Lwaxana. And, she calls him Mr. Wolf again.
Yeah.
Which I liked.
Oh, it's because he comes in because he's having trouble coming up with the contract with Alexander.
Oh, yeah. So, okay, yeah. So Lwaxana's like, oh, I don't approve of this idea of a contract. Contracts are usually between people who don't really trust another. A child who is trusted becomes worthy of that trust. I'm like, I don't know. I don't know if I would necessarily trust Alexander at this moment in time. But anyways.
And also, like, Alexander doesn't trust Worf.
Yup.
So, you know, I do. The one thing I do agree about her point in that there's really, like, nothing to hold Worf to his side of things.
Yeah, that was a decent point. Which is then immediately dismissed and never paid attention to.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like the one good point she brings up
is gone. Okay, so then Riker tells Picard about Lwaxana, and then she wants Picard to give her away, and I love how much of a kick like that Riker gets telling Picard all of this stuff. Because Riker's like, I don't have to do anything. I just get to tell you and smoke bomb, run away.
Yeah.
And Picard's like, ooh, okay. And then I wrote glitter something, but I don't know what I wrote.
Oh, because you see glitter in the corner, and it's the first clue that of this bad what do you call it, side story.
Oh, glitter invasion. Okay. Yeah. I thought I wrote mansion, and I was like, I don't get the context of this. I wrote invasion. But my printing is terrible. Okay, yes. So glitter invasion.
I am fascinated as how invasion can look like mansion.
I will take a picture and I will send it to you. I promise you. Hold on, I'll do it now so we can have you verify that it's not that crazy that I.
If you think about it, they're basically the same word.
It's just how I wrote it. Okay, hold on. I'm sending it this exact moment.
Oh yeah.
Right?
That definitely looks like mansion.
Yeah, but it's invasion. Yeah.
Wazrom, I see. I wish.
Maybe I'll post that on our Instagram.
Say, the audience needs to know.
Yeah.
Okay, so I just wrote in I wrote Alexander Awkward Computer.
Oh,
I
he's
remember what
like.
he was doing. I remember he was talking to a computer.
He's
but I don't
like
remember what
hanging
he was
out
doing.
at the computer kiosk in the what do you call it? In Deanna's office.
Deanna's office,
and
Oh, right. She comes in because she's like, she came early, so he wouldn't have to talk to Worf or whatever.
Yeah, he's like tapping on it like sideways, and then he like spins it around.
Oh yes,
and then types on it more. It is really awkward.
Yeah. Then Lwaxana comes in, and she looks like Bette Midler in Hocus Pocus, but with a boob window.
Yeah.
And yeah, so he's early for his appointment with Troy. He left because he wanted to his like quarters because he wanted to not talk to Worf, and that he hates Worf and wishes his mom was here. I wrote same, but just I also wish his mom was here.
Yeah.
And then she starts talking about like mud baths and shit, and I'm like, I'm sorry, is she talking about taking Alexander to like a spa or a commune? What is she talking about? So she says it's called the Parallax Colony on Sherdleg 6, and they go into the holodeck, and then we experience what might be in my top 5 worst nightmares.
Yes. This whole sequence is so
unhinged,
yeah.
And I say unhinged a lot, but this is probably one of the most accurate meanings of unhinged.
It's Star Trek trying to be whimsical.
Yeah, I was gonna say cringe.
I hated it in such a level I can't articulate other than I hated it.
This whole thing is if they took like the worst episode of the original series and made it a holodeck program.
It was like, so you know what it's like? It's like if people just took bad drugs and were like, hey guys, I got some ideas of like a great idea, but the drugs were not good drugs, so you didn't have a good time on them, and this is what you ended up with. And it was upsetting for everyone involved, including myself. Okay, so the first thing we see is a bubble with a fucking head in it, and the head is truly what it looks like. Okay, listen, I think we know by now I'm not a horror movie person, but even I know who Pinhead is.
Yeah.
And that looked like Pinhead, but like if Pinhead was a stained glass window.
It looks like a Pinhead. We're colorful.
It's like Pinhead if his face was made of carpet from a kindergarten class.
Yeah. It's what, like, I wrote crafty nightmare.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was horrifying. I hated it. But apparently they're called wind dancers. No, they're just called nightmares. And only those whose hearts are joyous may enter. And that's what crafty nightmare is there for. It doesn't matter. It's so dumb. Okay, then we see a human/dinosaur making fire shapes. Who cares? Then we see a guy in a glittery onesie with the craziest 2 strands of hair over his face, which I didn't realize till later. It's his eyebrows. I thought they were like weird little bangs. No, they are eyebrow, and that made it worse. Yeah. Honestly, looking at this character made me like upset.
Honestly, the same thing happened to me. I thought they were like little strands from his bangs or whatever. And then at the end of the episode, I realized, oh no, those are his eyebrows.
Yeah. And then he just like is juggling, which makes things worse, in my opinion. And then, oh God, they talk about like a laughing hour. God, yeah. I hated that. So Lwaxana's like, oh, we're going to go for a mud bath. And this guy's like, cool, my friends will join us. And I just wrote, this is a fever dream.
This entire sequence is basically what like people in their 50s think that people are who are 5 should want their lives to be.
Okay, so then, so this guy's friends are dandelion people who are like arguing with each other. I don't know. So then the fucking ghost of Charlton Heston arrives.
Yeah.
Or like
Yeah,
Moses,
that guy was
if you
just-
will. And
Interesting.
he goes, "Hold, what is the lesson for today?" And then Lwaxana's, "Damned if we know. We're just here for some fun in a mud bath." And Moses goes, "Every moment requires a purpose." And Lwaxana goes, "No, it doesn't." And Moses goes, "Every purpose requires a plan." And then the juggler goes, "He does this every day, usually while everyone's food is getting cold. It's rather boring." And then Moses
Isn't
goes,
that funny and whimsical?
yeah, and then Moses goes, "The higher, the fewer." And Lwaxana says, "Well, that's a conversation stopper if I ever heard one." I hate this. I
Yeah.
hate this so much. And so then Alexander goes back to the arguing dandelions to let them know the higher, the fewer. And then they're like, "Yeah, that seems legit."
That tracks.
Yeah.
So now we cut to Troy and Worf learn that Alexander is in holodeck 2 with Lwaxana, and then we just see Lwaxana, Alexander, and a bunch of these randos in a mud bath,
A literal
Yeah.
mud bath.
like in one single mud jacuzzi.
That's
and
not
some
that
of them-
abnormal, but yeah, that's what it,
Yeah.
what it
And
is.
they're some of them are eating their cups.
They're all eating their cups. That's what their snack is. It's an ice cream cone without any ice cream.
It looks like they're eating styrofoam.
Yes, it does.
So Worf and Troy, of course, come face to face with fucking Pinhead, and Worf is just like done with it, and he pops him, which I support wholeheartedly.
Thank you, Worf.
And then we're back over at the mud bath, and we get this close up on someone's body painted ass, and
Yeah.
they're dancing around basically naked, just with body paint.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what is this? What are we watching?
Yeah, we get full ass.
Yep.
Like,
Yes.
filling the frame. And it's like the person I think has on like a tiny thong or something that's like covered in body paint.
Yes.
But yeah, it's just full uninterrupted ass.
Yeah.
Which
There-
I'm not
it's-
complaining, but I was surprised.
It was very jarring. This whole
Especially
situation
considering
was-
this part of the episode is about hanging out with a literal child.
Yeah.
Yeah. Choices were made. So then, okay, so Troy and Worf show up at the mud bath. They're like, "What the flying fuck's happening?" And oh my god, Lwaxana calls Troy deadly doll. And I'm like, that's like actually very mean.
Yeah.
I guess this is like another scene or something. Yeah, okay, yeah, no, sorry. That scene, they're in like, they're talking, just Troy and Lwaxana in like her quarters. And because Troy is like shocked to know that Lwaxana is getting married in clothes, because I actually forgot for a second that Betazoids get married naked. So that was, oh my god, clothes, absolute bonkers idea. So Lwaxana asks for tea from the replicator, but it gives her a glass of sausages.
Yes. Uncooked sausages, which is even
And I
more
wrote,
interesting.
I wrote in my notes, it sounds like a euphemism.
Yeah.
Glass of sausages.
Yup.
So she just like takes the sausages out and she drinks the juice, and I almost threw up in my mouth.
Well,
That
it wasn't juice, it was tea. There was just sausages in the tea.
That's still gross.
Yeah, that doesn't
It is
make it
still
better.
gross, especially since they were raw sausages.
Yep. Someone salmonella. or
Rossages,
something.
if
Hello?
you will.
Trichinosis,
Yeah.
probably.
Yeah, that's bad. Okay, so and we learned, so we go to Data and Geordi, and they say there are 200 reports of replicator malfunctions, but they can't figure out why. There's an energy fluctuation in one of the utility access corridors, whatever. So they like go find it, and the box
And they
is, like,
change
some
in
kind
order
of-
to do it for some reason. They have to wear
Oh
like
yeah, they got to put on
engineering
jumpsuits.
clothes.
Listen, you got to dress for the job you want. Whatever this job was. Ceiling dwellers or wanderers.
No, man, it's hanging out
something.
with
I
your
don't
best
know.
friend.
In the ceiling. And so, okay, yeah, so they find the box, some kind of intermittent EM field pattern, whatever. And then they open the box and like fucking caramel falls out of the box. Data pulls it out and he's just like lying on the ground.
It's some goop
and,
in a box.
Initially I said caramel. It is slime. It is fucking disgusting. And Data does not say a word. I was like, nothing, Data? Okay.
Oh,
so
and then
now
the
I
scene
kept to
cuts,
Lwaxana,
and neither of them have any like reaction to each other over it, and you're just supposed to, or left there like, what?
Yeah. So Lwaxana is now in a white wig and a silvery dress, which actually, I really liked this wig on her, though. I like the white hair.
Yeah.
This was like not a bad look. I know it's not her vibe. And she's just like, oh, can we lower the neckline? And they're like, sorry, can't. And they're like, okay, raise the hem. And they're like, sorry, can't. And then Alexander comes in to apologize if he got her in trouble. And I thought the goo, like the slime, might be related to Campio. No, it isn't. No, they're fucking nothing to do with each other.
I just need to be clear about this, but this episode has 3 plot lines.
And I forgot it. I kept, every time they were not on the screen, I forgot about them. Like, I fully, at one part, forgot about so much shit that was happening.
Yep. Yeah.
This episode was a mess. So, Alexander is like, oh, you older? And then, he asks if she's older. And she just has, like, a whole existential crisis where this was honestly surprising to me. So she goes into a whole thing about, like, oh, she's alone. And so now she has to compromise to be with someone. And I'm like, her compromise to be with someone? No, people should compromise to be with her.
Yeah, exactly.
I was like, this is wild. But also, like, I don't know, this whole like rant was a bummer, that she just is so sad about like not being alone. And I'm like, you don't need a man for fulfillment.
And the
She
thing is,
does.
like, this would have been, and the thing is, this would have been a really interesting thing to explore, except we had to fit in 2 other plot lines,
Both of which are pointless.
Yeah. So Data says, oh, they traced the failure to a data net interface, which routes the replicators selections in the connect subprocessors, whatever. It doesn't matter. They open the panel. They discover that the interface has been transformed into slime. Yeah. It's gross. The ship shakes. Alarm goes off, and it is probably one of the worst like ship shake acting I've ever seen. They barely fucking move. It's all camera.
Yeah,
nobody
even,
fucking
like,
does anything.
like,
even Picard looks like he's just like kind of like barely moving.
Although honestly, like, Patrick Stewart like gave the most of everyone.
It looks like at one point he's just bouncing in his chair.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's kind of, a lot of those scenes are like that.
Yeah.
But Riker, like, is fully, like, standing with one leg up, like, while the ship is supposed to be, like, violently shaking around. It's like,
yeah,
sir, you would not have been able to keep your balance.
Yeah. So, like, systems are failing, blah, blah, blah. Helm control is, like, lost. Picard is just bouncing in his seat. Secondary systems kick in. Oh, and then we get a team meeting. It's not very long, but listen, I'll take it. So Geordi's like, something happened to the replicator, happened to the stabilizer. That's what happened there. And transfers in both systems turned into slime. And it's basically like, I think metal is turning to slime, whatever. So then they're like, oh, Campio has arrived in the transport room. So Lwaxana goes, Campio, my dear, your compatibility profile doesn't do you justice. Of course. What the fuck did I write? Whatever. Of course, I am Lwaxana, and any introductory compliments you'd like to make will be happily received. And I legit thought this was going to be a situation of her greeting someone and it was the wrong guy. Just by the way, like, I don't know, everything kind of stopped for a second. No, he's the right guy.
Yeah. It did kind of have that, like, pacing to it.
Yeah. So she goes then in for a kiss, and then this other guy, who we learn his name is Protocol Master Urko, like, puts his hand in front of, like, between their mouths, and it is weird. So Picard also, like, puts his hand to shake it, like to shake his hand with Campio, but he gets shut down. I just wrote, wow, Picard, how embarrassing.
Which is actually really out of character for him, because Picard is the kind of person who would absolutely research whatever their greeting customs are.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, okay, so Campio's like, after all, this all just got really messy for me.
Yeah.
Okay, I want to point something out.
This is all
I want to
just
point something out.
dumb.
Minister Campio there is played by a deceased actor named Tony Jay, who is quite well known up here in Canada, especially as he's voiced some iconic characters from our childhood. Most recognizably, if you've ever seen the Canadian animated television show Reboot, he was responsible for voicing Megabyte. And he is absolutely fucking wasted in this role. It is just... This guy has a magnificent acting career that spans like 4 decades, and this is what they fucking did with him? God damn it. You could have made him like an excellent villain or some like over-the-top, what do you call it, cocky aristocrat or something like that. But no, they picked this guy. I am so fucking disappointed in them.
Yeah, it was honestly useless. This also, Campio and Urko, they have some kind of modesty, keep your hands to yourself shit before marriage. I don't know. It's like dumb. So, okay, Geordi is like, oh, they're back to trying to figure out what the fuck's happening. So like the common alloy that shows up is Nitrium. And, I don't know, like organically metabolized, blah, blah, blah. Oh, they mentioned using a mass spectrometer. And I'm like, I know what that is from CSI. So like something is eating the nitrium in like their systems or something in the ship. And there's like other shit that are like vulnerable to that have nitrium and they're also whatever. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, so like now Alexander and Worf.
I just want to point out that
the
slime is the parasite poop.
Yes.
Basically.
Yes.
I just want to point out that parasites randomly eating the ship and they have to take it back to where they live is something they've already done before.
Yeah.
Classic TNG. Okay, so now Alexander keeps going, ha! For his laughing hour. And I'm like,
very loudly.
I hated this
For the record,
much.
in this moment, I just wrote in my notes, I hate Alexander in this episode so much.
Yeah. And Worf is like, actually, it's dinner hour. Alexander's like, sorry, Dad, I have a prior engagement regarding Happy Wisdom with Lwaxana, so I gotta jet. And then Worf is like, Alexander, eat your food. Wisdom will wait, I assure you. And then Alexander says, I promised. Should I break my promise, Father? Worf says, a Klingon never breaks his word. And then Alexander gets up and Worf goes, where are you going? And then Alexander said, no Klingon ever breaks his word. And Worf said, I did not mean now. Now just sit down and eat.
He's
Alexander
being
says,
really calm
Father.
about it,
You're
too.
confusing
like, come
me.
on.
Yeah, Worf is like biting everything inside of his mouth.
Well, I think that is kind of a callback to where Alexander, like what he wanted in his part of the contract was Worf not to yell at him. So I think Worf's trying to do that.
Yeah. And I think he's succeeding really well. Like, he's just saying, like, Alexander, eat your food, please.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Please,
so
just
Worf's
fucking
like,
please eat.
Yeah. So then Worf is like, understand later, just eat. And then Alexander goes, Father, the higher, the fewer. And then he just walks out. And I was like, what the fuck?
I wanted to punch him when they said that. And I'm just like, why does this fucking dialogue exist?
It's very, I hated this.
You know what? It wasn't until Dory was describing the scene earlier that I understood why he kept saying this. Is because Lwaxana says that's a conversation stopper, if I've ever heard one. So Alexander uses it to, like, stop the discussion.
Oh, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
That's a good point. Okay, so yeah, there's a lot that goes on in this next scene. Like Sana's like, "Bye, I have to go. I have plans with Alexander." And Campio's like, "Oh,
I
can we
have to
do this?
go
Can we do
now.
that
My
another time?" And
planet
she's
needs
like,
me.
"Yeah." She's like, "Listen, it'll be 1 hour, and then we're back." And Urko's like, "Minister, she should not be able to address you so familiarly. Like, what the fuck?" And then she's like, "We can not talk about marriage shit till after I'm done with Alexander at mud baths or whatever, some shit." So Troy and Worf show up at Lwaxana's room, and Urko's like, "Oh, you should be called." Oh god, it's all so stupid. I hate this. There's just a lot of chaos happening, and I don't care about any of it. Worf is
This
like,
scene is meant to be like, the awkward, whoa, her hijinks are being foiled moment, but it's just awkward and uncomfortable instead.
yeah, yeah, it's just like, this is also dumb. I just wrote, what is happening? And then Troy's like, "Mom, you're basically like messing up all my Worf and Alexander shit. So like, this is dumb." And then I did realize that Campio's outfit and Urko's outfit, they had this like headpiece. I thought it was just like its own thing. No, it's like a weird hood. It's like attached to the rest of their outfit, which is not better. But so Lwaxana, I don't know. Fucking watch that scene. I can't even describe it. It's so dumb. Okay, so now Geordi and Data find a severe energy fluctuation in this access panel. Open up and glitter floats up and slime pours down. So like, what the fuck is happening? Oh, okay, so now we're back in the holodeck and we see Guy in onesie. And in this scene, like, there was a lot of very unfortunate realizations, not only about his eyebrows, but the fact that his ears are connected behind his head.
Yeah.
That was very upsetting. I did not like that.
I'm surprised you didn't notice that earlier, but
no,
yeah,
I didn't notice that earlier.
That was definitely a choice that they made here. How does
hated
one
this
brush their
character
hair
design.
with that species design?
Carefully. I don't know. I think like of all the character design we've seen, this is my least favorite.
Yeah.
I hate this guy's design. Oh, so he's like bummed because he was like juggling and then he ate his balls, the juggling balls, who are also worlds. I don't know. And then he's like, if you have a world, ever a world, plan ahead, don't eat it. And like, I hate this. And oh, Lwaxana's also wearing a cool dress. I like this one. And Alexander is like, "Oh, are you bummed? Your new husband wouldn't want to do mud baths, right?" And then Lwaxana notices the slime is entering the holodeck also. And okay, now Geordi's like, "Oh, we must be dealing with a metal parasite that's like coming through the ship's hull. The asteroid they destroyed was rich with natrium, and everything important in this ship has natrium." Great. So they're like, "Oh, the asteroid field, the Polaris field, that probably has a lot of natrium, so maybe we go back and put it back so it's like better meals." I don't know, whatever. It's like 5 hours 20 minutes, warp 9 to get there. Whatever. So they try to slow oh, okay, so here's something they mentioned. They're like, "Oh, they can try to slow the parasite down with cold in the meantime." They fucking don't.
Yeah.
Like, why did they mention that? They don't even utilize that, because at one point they're like all sweating and I'm like, cold shit, guys? Okay, so like primary generators are down, blah, blah, blah. Picard's like, "Data, oh, how do we like get it out once we get to the field?" Data's like, "We can reconfigure a particle beam, blah, blah, blah. Doesn't matter. Oh, none of this. I'm just reading through my notes. I'm like, I don't care. This is all dumb. Okay. So then they're in the turbo lift. They notice the like slime is pouring in. It's gross. The turbo lift velocity is like fluctuating. And the ship has now slowed down to 5.7 warp. And the parasites have entered the primary warp controllers. Great. They're losing life support. It's really hot on the ship. Oxygen levels are dropping. And I'm just like, they gotta fucking make it cold. Like, they said what they can do to slow it down and they never do it. So like, they gotta get to back to the field. Picard's like, "Data, Even if we lose consciousness, you gotta fucking keep going. So they arrive at the field. Structural integrity of the dilithium chambers at 34%. Breach in 1 minute. Gasp, gasp, gasp. Data asks the computer to reconfigure a hydrogen plasma mixture to include 30% natrium. Project emitter beam. Data did it. Huzzah. Everyone wakes up. And then I forgot about the wedding.
Yeah.
Through all this,
That's
I
okay.
forgot.
So did the script.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also noticed very distinctly that, like, while all this shit was happening on the ship, like, they never showed what was happening with Lwaxana and Alexander.
Yeah, they just were like, it's cool. They're just hanging out in a mud bath when everything falls to shit.
Yeah.
That's fine, I guess. Okay, so now we're at the wedding in 10 Forward, which, of course, absolutely forgot about. And they're making jokes that Lwaxana is late to her wedding. And then we see Troy.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Fucking blowout, blue dress. She looks fucking credible. Love it. And then everyone looks absolutely shaken because Lwaxana has made it to her wedding and she is naked. Mm-hmm. Good for her. Like that she like stuck to her guns.
Yeah.
And everyone so like Riker makes a really funny face. He's like,
Yeah.
cool. Just saw my ex's naked mom.
Yeah.
And then he looks at Dr. C and Dr. C's reaction is really good too. She's like, damn.
Yeah. I mean,
And then
Majel Barrett is really hot.
yeah. And then they let Alexander go to the wedding. He's like standing beside Worf.
Yeah.
And she winks at him. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
And then so Campio and Urko look absolutely horrified and they leave. And Lwaxana is just like, that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
Bye. So then we cut to this is such a weird last scene.
And just to make sure, for those who may not remember, the Betazoid tradition is that the couple is naked at the wedding. Actually, all the guests are supposed to be naked at the wedding, in a Betazoid wedding.
Party.
Yeah.
So then the last scene, we see Lwaxana is hanging out with Alexander, and Troy, who looks like a fucking mermaid in the scene with her hair. In the mud bath, and surprise, Worf is also there up to his neck in the mud bath.
Yeah.
And he just goes, "You're just supposed to sit here?" Yeah. And then the episode ends. And I was like, thank fucking God.
Yeah.
It felt like this episode would never fucking end.
So, how do you feel about how this episode has concluded its themes?
I hated this episode.
No, how do you feel about how its themes have been concluded?
Themes are dumb.
Yeah, there are no themes.
Yeah, the point is there is no theme to this episode. I mean,
I hate everything.
They tried to have a theme in the episode, but just didn't do anything with it.
Their theme was upset me.
Yeah. Yeah, this episode's so fucking annoying. Like, that's the best word I can think to use for it. It's annoying.
And this, in my opinion, is probably the worst Lwaxana episode that I've seen so far.
Yes, definitely.
It was useless. Her whole storyline felt so weak to me. And also, like, to me, it changed. Her character felt like very different though too. And
like the main
issues,
but the main issues with her in this episode are that this is ground that has been tread before.
Yeah.
With her, and done much better, I might add. But two, this is why are they pairing her up with Alexander?
Yeah, it's a very weird combo.
Yeah. Now, for the record, the actual idea behind their approach to this episode is, I mean, it's quite strange. It's something that is above our heads because we weren't in our 30s or 40s in the 1990s.
Speak for yourself. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Okay, fair point.
I'm joking.
So the episode, do you know what Auntie Mame is?
No.
Okay. It's this old, it's this like 50s book about this like eccentric aunt that somebody has. And the whole book is she takes him on an adventure through her like weird bohemian lifestyle, and it was very popular. It was turned into a play, and I think like a musical and everything. And it even got like a sequel book, which is something that books that become popular don't often get from that era. But yeah, it really doesn't translate at all. And by now, like, the story is just uncomfortable because it's about this woman who's just doing weird shit, basically. Like, that's the point. And it's weird shit that is not considered like eccentric weird shit by today's standards. It's considered like, why the fuck would you do that? That's bizarre. What is wrong with you? So, yes, it's not good. Well, okay. It's not good by today's standards. There's a reason that nobody really cares about it now. And, I mean, I think they were trying to do, like, a Tilda Swanson movie remake of it that just never ended up coming to fruition. But the point is, because we have no experience with what the reference is trying to do, it has even less power to us. So, yeah, absolutely fucking worthless story, inspired by something that I don't think was that great to begin with, and just doesn't translate at all unless you've read it.
Yeah. This also, I honestly thought that, like, it would honestly have made more sense if, like, the slime had something to do with Campio. But these were two wildly not connected stories.
I think they needed, like, just a little bit to pad out the episode because they ran out of stuff. But oddly enough, in the end, everything ends up feeling really rushed.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
that's because there's so much you could have done with the episode, too. Like, even if you wanted to keep the Alexander stuff and you just got rid of the glitter slime shit, like, you could have done so much with that. Like, these themes of, like, growing older and being lonely and, like, compromising your standards, like, just because you're afraid of being alone. And then, like, you know, the tensions that, like, you know, between Worf and Alexander, and, like, trying to deal with that family dynamic and all of that stuff. Like, there's so much interesting shit that is there, and they're just like,
Slime.
we want to show her being weird.
Yeah. Ugh. I think this episode is probably the reason why people find Lwaxana so annoying.
I could see that.
Like, here's the thing. She's kind of built to be, like, a little of an annoying character, but I think this episode is why people maybe feel so, like, intense about it.
So, for the record, I when I was young, my mom had this friend that she grew up with. Can't remember her name off the top of my head right now. I don't know. The real horrible situation where she died a number of years ago. But so this woman reminded me very much of Lwaxana in this episode, and it's probably one of the reasons I have a little bit more of, like, a visceral hatred for her in this episode than I otherwise should, because similarly she was, like, really in denial of anything going on around her, and would just kind of fill it with, you know, trying to do random shit. And so she would just kind of show up into our life every now and then needing help because her doing random shit philosophy of like this weird guy juggling worlds and then eating them and not thinking about the consequences of that. She constantly did things where she would do something and not think about the consequences of it at all. So she would show up smelling like tons of cigarette smoke, have more makeup on than I have ever seen in anyone's singular bag in my lifetime, and then plant a nice big kiss on my cheek that I could not wash off for an hour and a half. And that is exactly what Lwaxana reminds me of in this. And I hate it so much. That's my personal story. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, it's not to say that Lwaxana doesn't have, like, some points about how they're dealing with Alexander, like, maybe isn't the greatest, but, like,
but then they frame it around this shit.
Yeah, but she just, like, stomps in and, like, just, like Deanna Deanna said, like, she just undermines every single thing they've tried to do. And it's like, you know, without even discussing it. Like, Lwaxana knows nothing about the circumstances of the situation. You know,
Right.
she has that whole thing about, like, you know, a child that is trusted will be worthy of that trust. It's like, you don't know anything about Alexander's, like, behavior or his history. Like, he's not in a position to be trusted right now, you know? And it's like, yes, you should trust your children and stuff like that, and there's a lot going on with Alexander's behavior, dealing with, like, just his whole circumstance and Worf kind of fucking up as a dad and stuff like that. But it's like...
Kind of.
Yeah. But it's just like, you're coming in here with no knowledge of anything in this dynamic and just making assumptions and, like, putting ideas in this kid's head. Like, they don't even, like... Because if it was, like, more aimed at, like, Worf, you were way too rigid with your kid, and, you know, he's obviously still dealing with the trauma of losing his mom, and, like, basically losing his mom, then having to lose his parents again, because he, like...
He had to relive that shit.
Yeah, he had to... Basically, his grandparents, like, dumping him off with his dad that doesn't want him, basically.
Being rejected with his whole, or from his entire culture.
Yeah.
By something that was not even his fault.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There's so much complicated shit going on, and, like, Lwaxana just thinks she knows best, even though she knows nothing at all.
She also, like, Troy tells her, like, you're undermining all this shit. And Lwaxana doesn't care. She also just full out insults her own daughter, calls her deadly dull.
Yeah.
And there is no conclusion of this. It's just, well...
I mean, there's no conclusion to anything that happens in this story except for the wedding getting canceled, so...
Yeah. I also... That's one of the things that kind of, like, bugged me with this episode, is that up until now, like, yeah, we knew Lwaxana is always looking for a guy, which is fine, I guess. But it's never seemed like, oh, she has to have one. She just, like, wants it.
Yeah.
And so when she was like, oh, I'm alone and I have to compromise if I don't want to be alone, and I was like, this feels very out of nowhere. Because to me, she's always sort of felt like it doesn't matter. She just, like, wants a man because she just, like, wants a man. She doesn't have to have one.
She
like,
wants an accessory.
Yeah, and this just made her seem...
She needs her
like,
handbag.
not in character. Like,
her handbag man.
Because this doesn't even... Like, it just felt so out of character. Because I don't think it's, like, necessarily... Like, I understand people feel that way. And that's fine. I just feel like for her, it feels so out of character.
Yeah.
And so left field. And she talked to this child about it. And him being like, well, you know, your Campio probably wouldn't want to do mud baths. And she's like, yeah, that's right. And I'm like, I'm sorry. Is this child supposed to be helping you with your existential crisis here? I don't get it. What the fuck is happening? It felt sloppy.
Yeah.
None of it made sense. None of it was like, I didn't care for this. I never need to see this episode. I don't want to think about this episode.
Oh, good. This episode didn't happen.
What episode? What?
Yeah.
I don't know what you're talking about.
All right.
It just, I'm trying to think if there's like anything else. My notes are a mess because I just wanted to get through this episode.
Okay, so I will give you one tiny extra bit of background information that I will not go into the results of at all, and you will not find out. You will have to keep watching to find out. But there was a singular mission behind why they were centering this around Alexander and Worf and having Troy in there.
Oh my God.
They had an idea, and that idea was... What if we try to eventually pair up Troy and Worf?
No.
And I can't tell you any more than that. Just that they had that idea during this episode, and so they planted some seeds.
No. I don't care for this. I don't like it. Just be friends. I like them as friends. I like that he trusts her, because I was back in the episode where he had this surgery that, like, he's like, if anything happens, like, I trust you the most to take care of Alexander. But, like, Troy seems, like, annoyed with him half the time. Like, if there was moments where, like, they actually seemed like they were bonding, that's one thing. But also now, like, if she's his therapist, that's, like, very inappropriate.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, wait, you don't want to fuck your therapist? Why not?
No. No. Oh my God. No, I hate this. I highly, highly disagree with this. I also hate that they keep trying to pair, like, Troy off with people. Can't she just... Meanwhile, the one fucking couple that I'm rooting for, they won't give me jack shit. It's... Like, they'll give me, like, kind of scenes, but it's... They don't give me what I want.
Yeah.
Ugh. I hope it doesn't happen. It's gonna fucking happen, and I'm gonna scream. Oh my God, no, it better not happen. I don't want this. I don't want this. I hate it. I hate this even suggestion. I can't even picture Troy and Worf. You know, like, visually you can sometimes be like, okay, yes, you can picture, like, two people, okay, they look good together. No.
Yeah.
Not Troy and Worf. But here, the one thing I will say is I can picture Troy like, you know, doing a blowout to Worf's hair.
Yeah.
That I would love. Give Worf a little makeover, because right now Worf and Alexander have the same haircut that I had in grade 3.
Yeah.
And it's not a good look. It's not great.
Look, the 90s were a different time.
I know. Don't I fucking know it. But yeah, I do not support this relationship. Mm-hmm. This even suggested relationship. I'm horrified by it. No, absolutely not.
I will give you no hints in either direction whether they go that way or not.
Oh God. Now I have something new to stress about.
Good.
So I think it's probably time to move on. 'Cause like, what else is there to say? Unless
did we talk about the fact that the episode is bad, actually? Because I don't know if we covered that.
I'm not sure. Maybe we should readdress it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or just address
Yeah,
it for
good
the
point.
first time, actually.
Yeah. Episode is bad.
It is bad.
All right.
I hated it.
So this episode is bad. So let's move on to favorite moments from this episode.
Lwaxana had some nice looks. I liked her with the white wig. Mm-hmm. I'm really reaching. The appearance of the ghost of Charlton Heston made me laugh for a moment. Mm-hmm. There was glitter. Just like rogue glitter going around the Enterprise, I guess. Yeah. Oh, I like that Worf looked very, like, the last scene when he was in the mud baths. Mm-hmm. And he was like, where is it? He goes, "You're just supposed to sit here." I like that Worf, like, to me, that was nice because Worf actually did, like, do something that Alexander liked doing. And though he's not, like, psyched about it, he's not, like, complaining. He's just like, "Oh, so you're just supposed to sit here?" I'm like,
Yeah.
"Oh, okay." So
that's kind of my reaction to the episode. You're just supposed to sit here and watch this crap.
yeah.
I did actually have one thing that I really liked in this episode. It's when Worf and Troy are coming to confront Lwaxana in the holodeck, and Worf gets confronted by that, like, multicolored pinhead floating head thing. and it won't let him pass, and Worf just fucking pops the bubble and moves on. Like he gets annoyed and he just fucking pops it and moves on. I thought that was really funny. And that's it.
Honestly, I have the intro. That's it. That's really it. That's the only thing I really like.
All right.
I have nothing else to say. That's it.
Well, we'll move on to predictions for the next episode. Our next episode is called The Perfect Mate.
Oh, no.
And,
I'm already concerned.
yeah. It's not great. I'm not gonna lie. So this is the Netflix description. The Enterprise is unwittingly used to present a unique gift to an alien race. A beautiful empath whose sole purpose is to please her mate.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Oh, God. I hate that so much.
Yeah.
Oh, God. So the Enterprise presents an empath. Oh, God, an empath. To an alien race.
Yeah. They're like...
Okay.
They're unwitted transport, I think, is what that said.
Oh, God. Oh, boy. Okay, maybe this is like... Okay, so maybe they're... God, I don't know why they have this person, but, like, maybe their way of, like, you know, maybe this is, like, a society that they're trying to, like, bring into the Federation. And it's like, listen... Like, what do you want to, like, join? Because maybe they've got some kind of resource that would be really helpful, or they're at, like, a strategic location.
Yeah.
And they're like, listen, what would you like to what do you want to join the Federation? And they're like, a wedding, please. An empath, please. So yeah, oh God, I'm so worried.
Yeah, it's weird. It's
yeah, I think it's too like a bargaining chip for them joining the Federation.
okay.
Oh God.
Well, if you'd like to see if Tori's correct, watch along with us and join us for the next episode of Fully Functional, a TNG podcast.
Goodbye.